Hello, welcome to UGC EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Arun Kumar Tripathi, working as Assistant Professor in Kirodimal College, University of Delhi. Today I am going to discuss about coastal processes and landforms. First, I am going to discuss the processes which shape the coastal landforms. Secondly, I will talk about three important players in coastal regions, that is waves, tides and winds. Thirdly, I will discuss the erosional landforms in coastal region, and finally I will tell about the landforms of coastal deposition. The landscape is sculptured by the various processes operating on the surface of the earth: mass wasting, erosion by wind, rivers, underground water, glaciers, all contribute to shape and modify the landscape. In this chapter, we understand the coastal processes that are shaping the landscape and see how the waves through the processes of erosion, transportation and deposition of detrital material continues to bring changes in the shorelines of the earth. Waves transfer energy they derive from wind to shoreline that in turn is used to erode, move sediments and deposit them, forming various coastal features. The other processes that work in the coastal waters include wind, tides and currents, which along with waves provide the requisite energy to carve out and modify the physical features. Now we will discuss about waves, currents, tides and winds shaping the coastal geomorphology. First we will discuss waves. Waves are undulations over water surface resulting due to actions of wind. As the wind blows over water, it produces a force which causes pressure variation on the surface, resulting in generation of waves. The pressure exerted by the wind varies and result into driving upwind and advancing downwind slopes due to pressure contrast. The wind speed, length of time and the distance over which the wind blows determine the height of waves. The largest waves from where high winds blow over a large expanse of open water for an extended period of time. The orbital motion of water particles in a wave is depicted in figure 1, and you can see that waves consist of orbital movements of water that diminish rapidly from surface downwards until motion is very slightly where the water depth equals half the wavelength. The wave base can be also defined as the depth at which waves become imperceptible. Orbital motion is incomplete as the water particles advances with each wave pass, producing a slight drift of water in direction of moving or advancing wave. A particle of water moves in an orbit almost in a circular path. The particle returns to its original position after wave has passed. In deep water, when wave move across water surface, energy moves with wave, but that water does not move with wave and advances in circular orbits. A wave has certain dimensions: wave height, which is the vertical distance between crest, that is high point of wave, and trough, that is low point of wave. Wave stiffness is the ratio between height of wave and the length, while wave velocity is the rate of movement of wave crest. In open ocean, waves have height between 0.3 to 5 meters, but large storm waves generated by strong winds may reach up to a height of 20 meters, particularly during times of hurricanes and cyclonic storm. Waves break against the shore as surf when a large portion of their energy is expended in moving sand along beach. Waves move from deep water to shallow water near shore, during which they are influenced by the ocean bottom. At the level of the lowest orbital motion, when depth to bottom is equal to half wavelength, the waves will begin to feel the bottom. A wave 100 meter long will begin to be influenced by bottom at water depth of 50 meters. In shallow waters, the completely circular orbits flatten into ovals, slowing down the waves, but increasing wave height as it encounters the sloping bottom wedges. The height continues to increase and simultaneously length decreases. Waves become steeper and finally break. The breaker is a steep wave whose crest topples forward, moving faster than main body of water. Collectively, the breakers are termed as surf. The wave moves towards the coast and crashes against the solid land surface or built up structure. Sometimes it crashes with a high impact, disintegrating the rocks or any other such structures. At times, the waves break before reaching the coast and the water surges forward, moving what is known as swash. And as the water moves forward, as swash, it carries with it the small detrital material and fine sand particles, carrying them to beach. The water then retreats back due to gravity and drains back toward the sea as backwash. In this process, the water transports some of the sand from the beach back to the sea. The process continues, and with each swash and backwash, sand material is continuously being flung on shore and then returning back to sea. Now we will discuss near shore circulation. The sea waves generally do not strike the coast in a straight line. As the waves approach the shore, they bend. That is, first to arrive on the shore is the wave crest at an angle to shore. In this process, one end of the wave breaks first, that is followed by rest of wave progressively breaking along the shore. This angled strike of wave changes the direction of wave travel. As one end of wave reaches shallow water, it feels the bottom and slows down, while the rest of the wave travels at the same deep water speed. More and more waves come in contact with bottom, continuously slowing the speed of wave. The speed of wave slows progressively along its length. This way, there is change in the direction of wave crest till it becomes almost parallel to the coast. This process of bending of waves as they enter shallow water is termed as wave refraction. The wave refraction occurs in both straight shorelines and irregular shorelines of headlands and bays. Due to refraction, wave energy is concentrated along certain parts of shoreline and may be low in others. This further has consequence on the erosional ability of the waves. After wave refraction, we will discuss long shore currents. Within the surf zone, the movement of water is almost parallel to the coast, creating long shore current. These are generated by the waves entering the surf zone at an oblique angle as clearly depicted in figure 2. After wave refraction, wave crest and shoreline have a slight angle between them. Due to this, the water is driven up the beach towards land and along beach parallel to shoreline. With each wave striking the shore at an angle, more water is pushed parallel to shore. Long shore currents have about the same width as that of surf zone, wherein the landward end is the shoreline and the seaward edge is the outer limit of surf zone, where the waves are just beginning to break. If the wave size is large, the long shore currents tends to be strong and powerful, and depending on the angle of wave approach and incident wave energy level, their velocity may exceed more than 1 meter per second. The long shore currents can carry suspended sediments along the beach over long distances. Another current which plays an important role in coastal region is rip currents. Rip currents are narrow channels of strong seaward moving currents that occur near the shore through surf zone. These currents travel at water surface, and with increase in depth, they dissipate and die down. Their presence can be seen as stripes of frothy and turbid water that flows perpendicular to shore. The velocity of rip current varies between 0.5 to 1 meter per second, being highest during high tide. The currents exhibit pulsating characteristics attaining greatest speed when large waves with high amount of water is carried on to shore. They transport large amount of fine-grained sediments from the surf zone into the sea. The rip current at North Carolina coast is shown in figure 3. Another factor which plays very important role is tides, particularly tidal currents. So, tidal currents have great role to play in the coastal geomorphology. The movement of ocean water due to the gravitational attraction of moon and sun in relation to the earth is termed as tides. These are long waves traveling across oceans and transmitted into inlets, bays, lagoons or estuaries around the world's coastline. The ebb and flow of tide produces changes in sea level at regular intervals and generate tidal currents. These currents may flow at a speed of 3 km per hour in an open ocean and may exceed 20 km per hour where the flow is channeled through gulfs straits, between islands, and entrances to estuaries and lagoons. Tidal oscillation invading coastal lines may set up long shore currents. For example, on Norfolk coast in England, where 2 to 3 hours before high tide, the long shore flow is westward, and as the ebb sets in the long shore flow, it becomes eastward. The tidal currents have a little impact on erosion or deposition. They rather act as transporting agents carrying sediments along coast in near shore zone. Apart from waves, currents, and tides, the most visible impact on coastal landform is due to the winds. Winds plays very important role in the coastal geomorphology. The action of winds in shaping and modifying structures along the coast are also visible. Strong winds are known to deflate fine-grained sediments from beaches and tidal flats, lower their surface, and causes movements of detrital material and rock particles onshore, alongshore, and offshore. Dunes are formed above the high tide level by deposition of sand blown from beach. The wind also aids in transport of fine sediments that have resulted from weathering onshores due to process of wetting and drying by waves, or tides and salt crystallization. The wind-blown particles may act as abrasive tools as they bounce back and roll down the rock surfaces on the shore. These rocks are scored or rounded and smoothened by these sand particles. Evaporation and drying out of wet outcrops on cliff faces and wave-cut platforms is enhanced by the wind. As already discussed above, waves, currents, tides, and wind play a significant role in marine erosion. However, there are other controlling factors that influence the rate of erosion in coastal areas. These are kind and durability of rocks along shore. Number 2, structural controls such as fractures and joints. Number 3, tidal range. Number 4, openness of shore to wave attack. Number 5, depth of water offshore. Next is configuration of coastline. Then presence of or absence of protective beach, abundance and size of abrasive tools, and stability of sea level. All these factors affect plays an important role in marine erosion. 5 major processes that contributes to coastal erosion are corrosion, corrosion or abrasion, attrition, hydraulic action, and shock pressure of breaking waves. Corrosion is also known as solution. Salts and acids in seawater dissolves the rock gradually over thousands of years. Abrasion or corrosion is the process where waves transport material which hit the cliff and gradually wear it away. Attrition is caused by waves where the rock crash against each other, breaking them down into smaller and rounder pieces. Hydraulic action, as the waves approach the coast, they trap air and force it into gaps in the cliff. Eventually, this weakens the rock. The combined effect of all these erosional processes gives the coastal region a peculiar landscape. Now we will discuss about the erosional coastal landforms. And one of the most prominent erosional landscape in the coastal region is cliff. Cliff is basically the seaward limit of coast. In some places is marked by a neck or a scarp, which is commonly known as cliff. Cliffs are steep with angles of more than 40 degrees, sometimes even vertical and sometimes hanging. Coastal slopes cut into rock formation. The subaerial erosion of the cliff face and wave erosion at the cliff base recedes the cliff backward. In the coastline of the world, more than 3/4 are rocky and cliff-faced. Formation of cliff is strongly influenced by the geological structure of the coast and its response to weathering. In areas of resistant rocks, the cliffs are often vertical or steep. In areas where less resistant formations are cut back as cliffs, there is presence of irregular rocky structure or smooth shore platforms that are exposed at low tide. Another erosional landform is wave-cut platform. Wave-cut platforms are shore platforms bordering many cliffs and extend across the intertidal zone, whereas the term wave cut platform is mainly restricted to geomorphic features shaped entirely by hydraulic action of waves on soft rocks, such as clay shore platforms are formed due to abrasion by waves containing sand or gravel, tidal score and weathering. Presence of a shore platform reflects the stability of the coast over a long period of time, maintaining the same level of sea. In case of a change in sea level, one can observe the presence of marine terraces that are elevated wave-cut benches marking former high sea level. The process of coastal erosion to form wave-cut platform has been shown in figure 4. Another feature of coastal landform due to erosion is caves. As the cliff recedes, coastal erosion processes of weathering and erosion penetrate zone of weaknesses such as faults, joints, or outcrops of less resistant rocks. These processes cut clefts and crevices that further develop into caves and blowholes or deep, narrow inlets with stacks. Marine erosion thus has acted on the zones of weaknesses or segment of weaker rocks. Another erosional landform which is just subsequent to caves is the blowhole, which is developed in a cave when the hydraulic action of incoming waves and the compression of trapped air punctures the roof of the cave with the water and spray driven through it as fountains of spray. Kiama in New South Wales and Quaba in Australia are examples of blowholes occurring in elongated cave cut along joints in basalt. Blowholes formed in layered Carboniferous sandstone in Mayo in northwest Ireland are known as puffing holes. Natural arc is another important coastal erosional feature which is formed when powerful wave action excavates cave along joints and weak fractures on a cliffed coast on a headland. The wave action cuts through the caves on both sides of the headland, producing this spectacular geomorphic feature. On the Normandy coast of France, Port d'Ivoire is a natural arc on cliff of Hertschauk. Sometimes elongated natural arches may form tunnels. One such example is the tunnel on the north coast of Cornwall Merlin's Cave. Stack is another erosional feature which is basically dissection of headlands on a cliff coast often isolate stacks either when a natural arc collapses or when a transverse inlet is cut along a zone of weakness through the headland. Finally, they may be reduced by erosion and continue to be undercut till they collapse, leaving only a basement platform. Examples are 12 apostles near Port Campbell, Australia. Now we will discuss the depositional topography feature in the coastal region, and the one most prominent such depositional coastal landform is beaches, which we have witnessed, most of us have witnessed. Beach is an accumulation of loose unconsolidated sediment, temporary veneer of rock debris ranging in size from very fine sand to pebbles, cobbles and occasionally boulders. Nearly 40% of the coastline of the world consists of unconsolidated deposits of sand and gravel. The beach may extend for several kilometers or may be patchy. They may be almost straight or gently curved. Some may be short and include sharp curved pocket beaches in bays or coves between rocky headlands. Some are exposed to open seas and some are sheltered in bays. The movement of sediments, of sand and other particles by waves and currents from one sector to another changes the shape of beach. The movement of longshore current and longshore drift when waves arrive at an angle to the shore changes the beach morphology, and when the sediments are moved to and fro between the beach and near shore zone as waves break parallel to the coastline also help in shaping the beach. The beach accretion mainly takes place during periods of relatively quiet seas, and beach thickness is most significantly altered during storms. In coast with high wave energy, large particles can be moved, and beaches tend to be steep relative to coastal areas where low wave energy defines presence of only fine material. In the dynamic coastal system, the beach reflects an equilibrium state between input of material by swash and removal of material by backwash. The underlying structure is structural rock formation of granite, basalt, shale, conglomerate, and coral define the type, color, and texture of various beaches. A prograding beach shows net accretion receives more sediments from different sources than losing it at onshore. Losing it onshore, offshore, or alongshore. The transverse profile of a prograding beach is convex or in form of terrace ending in an seaward slope. Longshore drifting of sand and shingle may lead to some beaches to prograde. For example, Cardigan Bay on west coast of Wales, Streaky Bay, South Australia, and Danish island of Kyleholm are the examples. Another important depositional features in the coastal region is spits. So the spits are beaches that are built above high tide level, diverging from the coast, ending in one or more landward hooks or recurves. The outlines of the spits are shaped by the dominant pattern of wave action, and they grow in direction of longshore drift by waves arriving at an oblique angle to the shore. Examples of straight longshore spit is Orfordness, east coast of England, and recurved spit is seen at Hurst Castle, Hampshire. It has also been defined as ridge or embankment of sediment attached to the land at one end and terminating in open water at the other. The axis of spit usually extends in a straight line parallel to the coast. But when currents are deflected landward or tides are strong, growth of spit may be deflected landward with the resulting creation of a recurved spit, which we also called as hook. So several stages of hook development may produce a compound recurved spit or compound hook. Spit may be attached at both ends of a headland to form winged headland. If two spits converge offshore, or a simple or compound spit recurves until it becomes attached to shore at both ends, a cusped spit is formed. Growth of successive cusped spit further seaward will cause prograding of the shoreline, and seaward extension thus formed is known as cusped foreland. Examples of cusped forelands are Cape Henry, Virginia, and Cape Kennedy in Florida. Another depositional feature in the coastal landscape is bars. The term bar in generic sense includes various types of submerged or immersed embankments of sand and gravel built on sea floor by waves and currents. They may be emergent at low tides. They extend parallel to the coastline. Between a bar and a coastline and between near shore bar, there are elongated troughs where the water is deeper. Bars may be exposed at low tide and submerged during high tide, creating intervening troughs that contain lagoons as the tide falls. Most bars are sandy with pebbles and shells. Migrating bars become asymmetrical with steep advancing slopes. During calm weather and quiet seas with effective constructive swash, bars move closer to the shore and depict a flat profile. Another depositional feature are barrier beaches and barrier chains. Barrier beaches consist of elongated landforms and sand ridges parallel to the shore, which rise slightly above high tide. They are formed by the deposition of beach material offshore or across the mouths of inlets or embayments. In case of gently sloping coast, waves may break at a considerable distance from the shore, thereby enabling churning waters to build submerged offshore bars running parallel to the coast. These bars gradually grow and emerge above sea level and stand as a barrier between the open sea and an earlier coastline, and often result in coastal progradation. In due course of time, they form barrier beaches and possibly larger barrier islands. There are three distinct zones of the barrier island: a sandy beach, second a sandy dune, and a shallow lagoon, a swamp between barrier island and mainland. A series of these features extending for a considerable distance is known as barrier chain. In the low relief coastline, barrier islands are the most common features, dominating Atlantic and Gulf coast from New York to Texas. Ocean coasts of South Africa and eastern South America are few examples. So this is all about coastal landforms and processes, which is important to understand as this region is one of the most densely habited part of the world. Thank you very much for listening patiently. Happy learning.